Johnny wants to come back the next 2 Fridays. We're going to have other guest artists come. We have Jason Christian coming next week, and then Karen Wilbur Johnson the week after. So this is a fun month for us. Kicking it off good here. Every time he heats it, he's kind of growing that heat, and then he cools it a little bit, but he's keeping a lot of that core heat. And he'll work fast so that he doesn't lose that. If we took a lot of time and just hung out and talked, the whole thing would get cold, and then we'd have to wait forever in the glory hole for the whole thing to heat back up. And so that's why it's important to kind of know your steps, know what's going on, and it's kind of a continuously moving train out here.
It's so hot that it burns off. If you dip the whole thing in water, it'll make it like a crop.
So it seems like he's got it small enough that he's going to finish it in the bench. And I bet he'll use his jacks to squeeze this together.
I'm not sure why he did that, other than to stiffen up the bottom part. So that when you feed
Any questions or anything about that?
it's stiffer on the bottom.
Sure. Okay.
It's going to melt the front, so
Just keeping the bottom of the shape.
yeah. Well, some people would do it with compressed air, but I've never seen them do it with water.
He's using his paper to squeeze it some more.
He's trying to close the end.
He's not going to have to blow it, so.
And then squeeze with the jacks, and this is
Oh,
it.
make it a
Keep
big
that,
piece.
Yeah.
that seal at the top.
I'll cut off the end where he's jacking it right there.
Right.
So this is, to me, one of the pretty pieces of waste that we make, because there's a lot that you cut off there. This always looks like a little flower to me. And it'll probably have really pretty pattern. I'll put it in here.
Yes. But he was talking about, I was talking about the other stuff.
Sit it off, so that's paperweight, you can heat it up like this again and add it to the side of a piece.
Yeah, maybe you just need to picture of it and let it go. I'm kind of at that point.
So now he's using the wooden block to shape.
But I love every
That's pretty easy to be shaped. All you have to do is just kind of keep turning it at the right angle and it will become what you're asking it to become. That's what the great thing about these molds are. They do change though. They're wood, so they burn over time. And so they don't last forever, but it is a wonderful tool for when you're trying to get everything back to an even shape. Because if you introduce air to something without an even shape, it will follow whatever path of least resistance it can find. And so you really want to balance the whole time, not only to help with your final shape, but your turning and rotating is important too. I'll clean it up a little bit from where he cut it off. And then I bet they're going to get a little more glass on top of it. Yeah. One more time? Okay.
So he's going to cut it.
It'd be too thin to blow it out that big. Tell me about this. And of course it's expanded, so by the time you contract it,
Right.
So Kayla is introducing air through the pipe at Kazuki's direction. He'll tell her when to start, when to stop, how much pressure he needs. But it really doesn't take as much as most people think. When the glass is hot, I always tell people it's kind of like you start off at a pace that's like a bubble through a bubble line. They're like you're pulling your teeth on a spoon, and then you'll kind of build. And if you were trying to blow up all the candles on the cake at first, you probably lose control of it. Did we have a question? Yes. He's asking about the density of the glass. Yes, it is even all the way around. We worked on that, so we started off with a even layer of marine. And then, yeah, he's just kind of working on keeping that balance the whole time. If we ended up with like a real thin side and a real thick side, and he tried to blow, it would poof through that thin part, and the thick wouldn't change as much. So it's really important that it does stay balanced if that's what your final shape is going to be, something. Now sometimes, like on this green bowl on this pedestal back here, the base of that is tremendously thicker than the top. But they added and kind of like sculpted a little bit after it was already blown up to a certain degree. And then he took it and really just thinned that top part out even more. So you can work where it's like real thick at the bottom and real thin at top. This will be more like an even all around. Good question, thank you. So this is kind of the longest we go without heat on glass throughout the process. He's actually letting it cool down on purpose now because they can go back into the furnace and get more material. And if that thing was hot enough, especially if it was like moving, they could lose control of it in there and they could drip that whole thing into the furnace, which would be very unfortunate since it's all clear glass in there. But we keep it to a nice, probably still around 1,000 degrees, because the opposite could happen. He could walk in there and that thing could be too cold and he could shock it and it could explode in there instead of drip. So there's always a window of heat and temperature. Really pretty. Oh, that'd be fun.
Have you had that happen?
I've never seen it explode in a furnace, but I've seen it explode in a glory hole. Where somebody took too much time and they went in there and it just pops.
I know that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it was clear.
How can you figure that out?
Rid of all the glass and start
It's
over.
definitely hard to do it. Yeah.
Or make something that color.
So we're going to set up to do something fun, and this will be a great angle for y'all. They're actually going to cool the pipe and shape it with the block at the same time.
Great.
You can tilt it down for this. Well, not yet, but when it's going to be at the table.
And I love watching color come back out of the furnace with fresh glass on it. It's always so pretty. Now we got some glass. And the weight of that changed a lot. So he's got a whole layer of fresh hot glass around that more cold solid layer of glass. And he can push and move the material around a little bit at this stage. But what he's really aiming for is to get it nice and balanced. And the hot layer is heating up the colder layer just because it's so hot. And so before he starts changing shape or anything, he's going to make sure to bring that back into a full balance with a couple of heats in the glory hole to really make sure it's even again. up. It's still smoking a little bit. You can see how hot it is. There it goes. Oh, I couldn't see the front. He pulled it all out towards the front. Yeah, so that's fun. That's one of the things you can do with that fresh hot glass. You can move it around.
He's gonna use that to make the net.
No, it looks like, no, I can't because that piece on the bottom is already on there. First piece made,
Well,
that's on the bottom.
yeah, but when you put it on that side,
Yeah.
oh, well.
He's gonna put it on the side and then take it down on the other end. But he's gonna put something else on the bottom.
Okay. So now he's going to, again, try to control the heat from where it is on the piece. So he needs to get the part next to the pipe really, really hot so that he can put in a really crucial step called the neckline. And that's how we're actually going to ask it to break later. We're going to have this kind of condensed, squeezed, vulnerable spot where it will want to snap, and that will become the top of the piece. But if we didn't have anything there, we couldn't control how it broke off the line, or broke off the
Where is
pipe.
that smaller?
So he's going to make sure to really heat this up with our propane flame, which is kind of like the, I guess, mama bear of the hot shot. Papa Bear Bear's going to heat up too much and make the whole thing, but he can kind of concentrate where he wants that flame and that heat when he has that hand torch.
You have one of those?
Yeah, I do have one of those.
Very good.
I made my chili roaster out of it. We're great. Rubber free. 18 bucks.
Nice to make creme brulee.
Yeah, you can do, yeah, really quick.
I'm going to use a little beeswax to make that noise go away. Oh, it's out, but as soon as I said it. You're welcome.
Now,
So he's cooling and shaking at the same time. Kind of getting the heat from that. Maybe dive down a little bit right there. And then he's going to really probably concentrate that heat back into the next line. Oh, he's shaking right now too. So he's got this like hard kind of angle on that paper where he's shaking the bottom and the sides at the same time. And that will be the base of the piece. So that's actually like the foot where it will sit.
You're gonna have to add some glass to make that net.
I don't know what the bottom is. Yeah, that's what it's gonna sit on.
A lot of these is what I see. It's narrow.
If y'all don't follow us on Instagram or Facebook, make sure to give us a follow. We're always doing fun stuff, like that picture might end up on there. And we always talk about what's coming up next. And if you want to be a part of our mailing list, we send out a monthly mailer. There's a sign up as you walk in on that table right there. And you can just give us your email address and say, hey, if there's anything big and exciting going on, we'll make sure you know.
The size of those.
Cool, I could do one right on here.
And this is being live streamed as well. So if you want to show this to somebody later, or just go back and rewatch it, you should be able to find it on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook as well.
What are live streams? Live streams.
You can see how much you really was able to change that shape with just that one tool and heat.
Then the one I miss next, I can watch it.
Right?
Because I'm going to the gas station.
Oh, that's right. I just do live streaming.
So we've recruited more team members. Mark is going to be his shielder. So these wooden paddles are already going to use a couple of rows. He's the paddler. And so he is going to either flatten the bottom with that, you can use that directly on the glass, or sometimes we'll use it as indirect heat shield because there's a lot of heat coming off this glass. And that's what Kazuki's arm pieces are for. He's actually got 2 layers of protection on right now. But sometimes you just kind of have to get in between the glass layer and the glass so that they have a longer working time. Because, you know, when your hand's really hot, your brain is screaming to move. So yeah, Mark's giving it a nice flat spot while he controls the shape of the paper. Alright, so it sounds like the next move will be the neckline move. See, I already learned something. There's a new way of heating up my jacks. So he's heating this tool while he's heating the glass at the same time. Because hot jacks are going to work a little bit better than cold. I'll get a little bit more beeswax at it. Now this move is pretty important, and I'm not going to jinx something. He's really good at this, I'm sure. But if he puts it at the wrong angle, he can corkscrew a spot on the top instead of being one single line running around. So the angle of his jacks are really important, and he'll kind of change as he's going too to give it like a little bit of a valley out of the break even. But you want a real clear designated break spot.
And that is really hard.
Now he's also doing 2 things at once again. He's getting a little bit of stretch on that glass. And gravity's taking it while he's getting that neckline put in. You're never doing less than one thing at a time here. You're just walking, you're turning the pipe and walking. You know? It's always multiple things.
Hot than this. Might make it bigger.
Oh,
I don't know. What's going on?
So he's going to just do that one more time to probably get it a little tighter and refine it. And now that it's condensed there, it's going to feel a little bit less stable as it gets hot too. So we'll really work on keeping it centered when it's kind of loose like that. Now when you kind of make some something with us during one of our experience classes in the hot shop. We actually don't ask you to blow through the pipes anymore. COVID kind of changed the names for us, and so we have a heat pump that does the same thing. So you're actually pumping the glass when you come through your experience classes. It's pretty fun. We also have something called a blow hose that we can use, and it's like a rubber hose that one end attaches to the pipe and the other one has a little mouthpiece. And so you can work solo. You don't have to have an assistant to blow while you're using your tools. You can do it yourself. Which COVID forced me into. I wish I would have learned it earlier. It's a great tool.
So if you were to blow into that now, the whole thing.
And again, he's controlling the heat. He's brought it down a little bit. And he's going to ask it to be hot where he wants it to inflate more. And he's got air. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to control when it's stretched out long.
Yeah. Right now he's just kind of trying to hold it up, so
Yeah, it's just blowing.
So it looks like he's trying to kind of blow it out in the middle more.
It's getting
He's keeping
lighter.
it cool where he doesn't want it to change quite as much.
Yeah.
I just realized I was wrong earlier when I classified the propane torch as mama bear. That's actually baby bear. So that's one of the lightest torch we have. We have a propane oxygen fed flame that is about 4,000 degrees and twice as hot as our glory hole. So that's popular. There's a couple different ways we can add heat to the glass.
there it goes.
Let's try to have a little purple.
So does anybody know how we're going to work on the opening? Any ideas? We're going to have to get a whole other pipe and we're going to attach it to the bottom and flip it around and expose the open part and then be able to shake that. But you always work from your bottom up, so he's kind of getting that shape, and then once we swap pipes, most of that won't change anymore. He'll just concentrate on the last little bit that needs to change. How much y'all think that weighs? What does it feel like to you? 12 pounds? I feel like I would think that was heavier, but anything on the end of that really long object is going to feel like 3 to 4 times heavier than it actually is. Yeah, Jason's looked at it a bunch. He's saying 200. me, one of the fun things about the Marini too is seeing how they change as the glass changes. So as we're expanding, we're stretching all that glass out. And so the pattern's already a lot different than when he was walking around before. The dominant glass has to be compatible with itself in order to stay not stressed out. So like we couldn't crush like a wine bottle and add it to this glass. It would cause the whole thing to crack or explode as it cooled down. So it's called the coefficient of expansion. And it's about how the glass heats and cools and like expands and contracts. And yeah, you have to keep your glass very separate. So like the glass we use here is completely different than the glass we use in the flame shop is different than the glass we use in the warm shop. Yeah. It really changes how things anneal too. Like some glass goes through, well, all glass has to go through this annealing process at the end, because if you set glass out to cool by itself, the outside would always cool quicker than the inside. And so it would build itself into like a state of tension. And it just sits there ready for time, temperature, vibration, something will set it off. So we have to take our glass, once we're finished with it, and put it in 950-ish degrees to settle. And then the whole thing will become one temperature, and then depending on what we're trying to anneal, we will slowly cool it down. So something like this, maybe 18 to 24 hours. I've seen a part of a telescope that was taller than me and wider than me. They had to build an annealer just for it, put it in there for 2 months. And when they opened the door, they cracked it because they opened it too soon. So glass, I'm glad people smarter than me came through and figured it out before, because there's definite rules you have to follow in order for it to be successful. Yes, question. It's annealing in the kiln. Yeah. So we started off at like the 950, and then we drop it a little bit and let it sit in. And then drop it, and then slowly bring it back. Yeah. So we never open the door when it's still at least 150 and above is what I do. Because that definitely opened something with my excitement. Heard a little ping, and just cracked it.
How do we figure out?
They had to make the glass first.
I know. How do we figure out?
Sitting around bored one day.
I heard the word puntee. I think we're getting close to flipping this around. And the puntee is super crucial because it is the thing holding your glass onto the pipe for the rest of it. But it's also always meant to be temporary. You don't want too much of solid fuse because at some point you need to ask it to come off. So the amount of glass and the heat of glass are going to be really important for this to be a really good puntee, which means bridge. We get a lot of our terms from the Italians. They really held the mark on glass for many years. So it's just a little bit of glass. There's really not much off the end at all. He's going to do one more though. Now sometimes, if you're especially working sculpturally, we'll make a puntee that is meant to stay on when you break it off. And you'll have to cold work it later, which means you'll have to go through with like diamond tip tools and grind and kind of work through that glass. But a lot of the times, Most glass blowers want it to come off clean and be done. Here, this is such a large piece. It's not really worth the sacrifice sometimes, especially if you have days already into it before he started it today. So I'm not sure what one he's going to prefer, but sculptural, yeah. Yeah, safer that way. Yeah, so you have to go through a polishing process because your first one is going to be real harsh on it. It's going to leave a lot of lines. Then this is probably something he'll do on Mark's over here. So how will you do this? On the lap? Flat lap? Yeah. So there's a little indent, so I'm sure. He's probably about to go for that second gather, but same thing. He's going to let this glass get a little cold so it's a good base for the new hot glass to be on. There's slapping. Push most of that back towards the pipe. He doesn't need a whole ton off the end, but he does want a good amount to make a connection. So here comes the connection. He's in charge of sticking it to the glass. He's going to decide what looks center to him. And then he's going to feel for center as they start to turn. Because he wants this connection to have that same kind of plane as he was working on before. So he's putting in a little neckline on the end of the punty. And then they can kind of move the new pipe, the punchy pipe, and feel how much movement they have. If it's real loose, when they knock off, you won't have much control over that piece. If it feels pretty solid, you'll have control once they break off. And all he's going to do is a little vibration. Maybe a little water. This is him just trying to center it. Find what feels best. He'll have another shot when he comes out, but it's pretty much done. Did I see a question? Yeah. Yes. She said that the punting was hotter, which she used good eyes because she saw that glow. But it needs to be in a nice range, but it is going to be probably a little bit hotter than the bottom of that. But they didn't let that get so cold in like that 700 range where they can really shock it. All right, one little tap, piece is off, is now secured onto the punty. And so this is his chance to kind of maybe do a little adjustment. Kind of letting it sink itself. He's got it up, he's letting the back end kind of fall a little bit, and that's going to help with that balance. So look easy, that part's for that. So now you will see the difference in heat when they're really preparing the top of this, because they're not going to let the back get so hot that it changes shape anymore. They're really just working on the part that needs to change it and above. But if we don't do full flashes and keep it in that happy zone, it can either fall off the punty, which we don't talk about, or it could crack. The air could just shock it. So he'll keep those deep flashes going, but you'll see he'll concentrate the heat on the part that they need to change. We need a water cooler in here. Where's she? For those that don't know, we do have a water cooler with cups above, and we do have a restroom right there. Working that heat in, because that was the coldest part. It was the part closest to the pipe, so typically that stays a little colder, and then we're flipping the script. We're going to make what was hottest coldest, and coldest hottest. I think I said that the same way twice, but you know. There's that free tool gravity at work. Things came down. So when this broke off the pipe, it didn't break off quite even. And so in order to make it even, he's going to make a new top. He's going to do, it's called a jack and crack. And all that little flour will be knocked off. But he's probably going to break it off next because it looks like he might use it as a tool to kind of like pull the rest of it.
Pull it out.
This is a Soviet test, so he's going to pump air. This is how we blow when it's not on a blowpipe. He has to make a nice seal with the tool against the glass, and then anything hot can now be expanded through the pressure. So he's kind of telling Jason where he wants those heats. And then we just kind of line that up with the entrance of the glory hall.
Whatever those are. How are they speaking?
They do.
Oh. Back roads because we don't have to swing. Back roads here.
No, it's not back roads. Back roads.
Or back. That's the cost. Or did you?
Little tap, got that one to follow? So this is really thin glass. And if you overheat it, also glass.
Right.
You have to bring your
Right.
number 5. Might be number 7.
Right. Right.
They tell you you
I
don't
don't ever really work large scale, so I don't work outside of the bench much, but this is to me a very challenging thing that he's doing. Because the bench is like our comfort zone. And he's so long that he couldn't physically sit there probably and reach what he needed to reach comfortably. And so sometimes you work outside the bench. Like I said, this isn't my scale. But one of the fun things about always being around here is that there's always fun stuff going on. And so next week we have a guest artist named Jason Christian who's coming, and I'm going to take that class, and I'll try to push myself and stuff like that. So maybe I will work large next week. But it's fun, and again, he's doing a demo next Friday as well from 5 to 7 if anyone wants to come out and check him out. Yeah, I'm busy talking. He just like made that so nice. I missed it.
There's a lot of stuff in there. This is very classical shape.
Just finishing it.
Like how this guy's making pipes, you couldn't hear it.
All right. So you're pretty happy with it.
Great place to, our boulder is a great place to have a
That's
shot.
like it.
Good thing to do in the winter.
Okay, one more.
Well, a lot of the guys that can come and work out in the snow. I mean, their shops are outside.
And I love how the pattern, you can see that stretch more on the tip, so it's actually different from the base up. It's gorgeous. Okay, so you can see Jason back here getting extra gear on. He will physically hold this with his hands and take it from the pipe to the inhaler. So he's really got to get geared up. Because it's not hot enough to move, but I would say it's definitely still around 1,000 degrees, if not hotter.
Cool.
This is a little what's the new thing about it?
But maybe nothing. Shows a hole inside.
Oh, I see. I was
Here's a walk around. Okay, one more good flash. Jason is actually preheating his gloves so that he's not too different of a temperature to shock the glass when he touches it. And typically, another little tap, a little vibration is all that this needs. If the heat is right, it should come off pretty easily.
I would want that annealer like right
A
there.
little bit of water will shock it. And then a little vibration will seal the deal and take it off. There it goes. Woo! These are optimally arranged. Very nice. Beautifully done, Kazuki. Congratulations.
Sorry, I'm so sweating so much, but I wanted to thank this and again one more time. I don't know if you guys saw, but we almost lost the piece one time. And he like, I hope you guys enjoyed the, the demo. I'm going to be sticking around over here. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please come and talk to me. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you.